Hey, good afternoon and happy Monday. Hope you're having a great day so far. Now today, I wanted to talk about this idea that the retirement plans of a Christian look materially different than that of a non-Christian. I know it's something I've said before. You may have heard me say it before. I want to talk about more examples of what that looks like, and here's why. I think oftentimes we think of this idea that the finances of a Christian look different than the world because our motivation is different, our perspective is different, but the actions we take are oftentimes the same. And I want to talk about the actions that we take that are definitely different. And here is going to be an example of that. Okay, we are going to go over investment portfolio allocation and how our faith informs that decision. Before we do, this is going to be an episode when I need to say these opinions are my own opinions. They are not that of anybody else's. They just reflect me. And also, this is not investment advice specific to your situation. So please do not act on this as specific investment, legal, or tax advice for you because it's not. All right. Before we can talk about portfolio allocation, I think we have to talk about the idea of risk when it comes to the stock market. Now, I don't really like the word risk when we are talking about investment allocation because I think it implies that you might lose all of your money. And sure, if you're invested in a handful of stocks, you might lose all of your money. But I am talking about how risk applies to a well-diversified investment portfolio across, that spans all the way from the U.S. and beyond, where you can hold, a handful of index funds and it's 10,000 plus companies who are in your portfolio. That's what I'm talking about. And so risk in that context has never meant it all goes to zero. To use the S&P as an example, if you were to hold the S&P for 1 year over the course of its history, there's a 75% chance that you would have increased your portfolio balance on that year. And this is in the past. I will say that. If you expand it to 5 years, what if you hold it for 5 years? Well, then you would have had an 88% chance of positive growth. And then somewhere between the 10 and 20 mark, it crosses over into 100% of the time you would have seen growth. So I am not talking about risk as I lost all my money. It's all gone. I am talking about risk as short-term market volatility. I'm talking about the ups and downs along the way, the uncertainty, the unknowns. So that is what I mean when I say market risk. Okay, now that we are on the same page, I want to go over two frameworks that I really like when it comes to how to determine your investment allocation. One of them is by a LinkedIn friend of mine. Her name is Rachel Camp. And she breaks this decision down into three categories. When it comes to your investment allocation, let's look at three areas. One, and this is all pertaining to risk, market volatility, that is. One, your ability to take risk. What is your situation? What are your expenses? Are you covering somebody else's expenses? Are you working? Do you have the capability to go to work? These are some of the examples of your ability to take risk. It is based on your situation, the data around your life. Number two is your willingness to take risk. And this is more personality based. This is how much risk you can stomach in your portfolio. How much can it go down and you be okay with this? So it's, this is the kind of peace of mind, helps you sleep at night, those kind of ideas. And number three is our need to take market risk. And this just means, can you meet your goals without the stock market? Do you have enough cash or other guaranteed income products to where you don't even need to ride the ups and downs of market volatility? So that is one framework that I like for how to view risk from a secular perspective, that is. Another that I really like is created by probably the most prominent retirement practitioner in the world, and that is Wade Pfau and his RISA assessments. I don't know if that's the way you say that, but it's RISA, stands for Retirement Income Style Awareness. And I'm just going to read some quick sentences off his website to explain what that is. It says, it's a 15-minute assessment designed to help you more clearly understand which retirement income strategies align most closely with your preferences. It says there are many credible approaches, and the best one is the one that is most aligned with your style rather than somebody else's. And then before you take the assessment, it says, discover your genuine comfort levels and preferences regarding how you receive income during retirement. Find peace of mind, rest easy, knowing you have a clear understanding of what works best for you. So you do all these, answer all these questions, and it breaks you up into different categories. Very informative. I took this just the other day, and I enjoyed it, and I learned a little more about myself. The biggest category, that he breaks you into is, he says you are either probability-based or safety-first. Now, what does this mean? Probability-based. This means you are more willing to adopt market volatility if it means optimizing your resources. You're more comfortable watching the markets go up and down because chances are, and probability seems to indicate, your resources will be optimized having done that. That this is the more efficient path of doing more with less. And then the other side of that spectrum is safety first. This means that you are willing to sacrifice financial optimization if it means not having to watch the market ride up and down throughout your retirement. You would prefer to use fixed income products or guaranteed income sources to fund your retirement and never have to watch your balances decline for any reason other than you just withdrew the funds. And this is the less efficient path of doing less than you could with the money, but that's okay here because you never have to watch a market downturn. So you're happy paying extra if it helps you sleep at night, that personality aspect, if it provides you with more peace of mind. And what's the problem with that? To each his own, right? And to Wade Pfau's audience, that is absolutely true. There is nothing wrong with the world sacrificing financial optimization if it helps them sleep at night. And I mean that. That is completely okay. Now, it's not okay. Of course you do. It is the church acting like our retirement plans have nothing to do with our relationship with God. It's creating a retirement income in which we are willing to pay extra if it means avoiding market uncertainty. We are willing to sacrifice market participation because we don't need the money, because we've already got enough to cover our expenses. And I think we might sometimes say out loud, yes, God gave me this money to be a good steward. God gave me this money to help people get to heaven. We might conceptually be willing to acknowledge that truth, and yet we don't care so much about optimizing what God gave us once our expenses are covered. Hey, if I can afford to pay a little extra to live off of guaranteed income for the rest of my life, why shouldn't I? I just think we are so far from integrating our retirement financials with our faith. These are so far removed, and that is normal, it looks like. It is normal for the church to participate in long-term guaranteed income products, so much so at the cost of financial inefficiency. And I want to say really quick, I am not talking about people who don't know this. I recognize that most people are not familiar with these topics. If somebody told you this is how you do this, you buy annuities, you live off the income, you set up a bunch of CDs for life, then fine. I am not talking about being unfamiliar with this realm. I am talking about people who kind of know better, who know there's a better way, who are familiar with retirement practitioners and these conversations. And then choose their personality, their personal preference of stability and security, rather than making an attempt to optimize the resources God gave them. Not because God needs our money, but because He needs us to be on board all the way, not 1 foot in. I don't see anywhere in Scripture that makes room for prioritizing our own comfort at the cost of using our resources effectively. Not that it's wrong to be comfortable, but to shy away from uncertainty and then pay extra to do it. In fact, I see the exact opposite. I see if we seek God's kingdom first, if we are using our resources as a means to build relationships, to bear fruit, God will provide for us. We don't need to worry about that. We don't have to go so far to ensure we won't potentially need to rely on Him or anybody else. And that includes financially. I know this is contentious. I know there are some out there who are going to disagree with me, and I want to know what you think. I want to be continually formulating what I think. But when you were creating your investment portfolio, what was the starting point in the decision making? Was it your preference? Was it how much market volatility you were comfortable taking? Or was that decision based on your responsibility? Your job that you have to do during your very short time here on this earth. Is that your starting point of your portfolio allocation? I would argue that it should be. So we are going to cover more examples of how our plans differ than the world's. That was just the first one today. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.